We haven't seen any much development in Labon. We've been complaining about the road for years right now. My grandmother passed away already, and still my mother and them have been complaining about the road. See, come to sport-wise field, we don't have any of them establishments in Labon, so we're just looking forward in the longer run to see if we're going to get them things. See. We're always speaking pertaining them things because we have a lot of footballers in Labon. People are interested in sports and these things. Yeah. We have a lot of fishermen in Labon. See, most fishermen from Gros is from Labon and these things. See. So if you look forward for that, honestly speaking, like we say, we have to organize the road before we organize the fishery things down there and them type of thing. See, historical sites. See, Labon have a lot of history. See. So I wouldn't mind looking forward into our history and these things. Yeah, why the ministers and them have tourism as our main income when it's supposed to be farming. See. Labon is a place that have a lot of farmers, especially cassava and these things. See. So if we could get somebody to export these things, honestly, we could step forward from there and probably have a lot main income to our. See. So,
just entering the main enclave of Labon. I will start by actually looking back and saying that, as you know, Kingston, I was an aspiring candidate, and one thing that sort of struck me is the vastness of the constituency, and even how I would have been prepared to tackle it. So what sort of, obviously that's a unique challenge. It's not at the Henry South. So you will have to, let's get into how you are actually going to be tackling this challenge.
Gros is the melting pot. There's no other constituency in St. Lucia that is as diverse as the constituency of Gros. And I mean, we know Gros with 23,000 voters is the largest, and I entered into this process knowing full well we're in Borne, we're in Labon. You can see some of the challenges of the road already. I entered knowing full well that I am capable, energetic and ready to go in terms of meeting as many people in the constituency as possible. And of course, Labon would be a community that is a more agricultural based. You would, even within Labon, you would still find there are persons that are business minded. You would see some of them getting up to go to work, and they will be working in government. You have some teachers, some middle class persons, working, in different companies and that sort of thing. But predominantly a place like Labon, which is lush green. When you actually get to Labon, and we're on the flat of Labon, and we're seeing one of our favorites. What's up, man? How is everything? You gonna tie them up? All right. And of course, agriculture is a huge part of Labon. And Anthony Nolly, Mr. Nolly, what's up?
Anthony, I'm not behind, I'm right here.
It's skinny hair. He's right there with me. Yeah, that's the way it is.
Okay. Very well.
Alright. Yeah, man, we'll talk. Yeah. Of course, Anthony Nolly, one of the former cricketers from the community, and there's a little barber shop in the area. So you would find in a place like that, you saw somebody passing through with some of the cattle, goats, and of course farming is a huge part of the whole fabric of industry that are doing the different animals. And we still have persons who are doing pumpkins, watermelons, all of that sort of stuff. You see some people on the road selling, and their produce, a lot of it comes from Labon, and a lot of people are not aware of that, but this is this community here.
That it has been actually one of the first settlements that the Europeans established on the island.
Yeah.
There's always scope for Labon to be developed as a historical site, you know.
Absolutely. That's one of the disappointments with what's been happening for a number of years now. We are fully aware that there are Amerindian remains in a place like Fair, and of course we are fully aware that this area is where a lot of the Europeans came through, and we've not done enough by way of community tourism. We've not allowed our tourists who come into Gros to enjoy the touristic aspect, the historical aspect of Gros. We allow them to go to Soufrière and go down south and enjoy, you know, what it means to be St. Lucian. But the actual genesis of a lot of what happened in St. Lucia, I mean, talking from the French, the British, a lot of that historical perspective, Labon still holds that.
As you can see, the challenges are, according to the saying, too numerous to mention.
Yeah.
But always there's the endeavor to sincerely improve. Obviously, the road network, you know, comes to mind.
Yeah.
We knew that Labon had an acute water shortage, which was partly attended to.
Yeah.
So there's a phase 2 which deals with another section of the enclave. But still, you have a lot of people are still complaining that even the regularity of the supply.
Let's pause here. Continue. Yeah. Yeah, the supply of water. I wanted to stop here because this area in Labon, I remember fondly, because one of the first things I did is I took a walk into this area and I spoke to a gentleman. I was not aware that I was being recorded, and I said to him, the road was even in a worse condition, and I said to him, just based on the modus operandi of, you know, the parliamentary rep, that the fact that I came here today and I walked this street, we would definitely see some attention being paid to this road. And I'm happy to say now you see at least the leveling of the surface. And of course I will be having a conversation with him at sometime in the future to tell him, yeah, this is what we spoke of. Yes, the very same week the parliamentary rep called a meeting in this very community the same week to discuss the repairs on the road. So I just wanted to make sure that I pointed this out.
So
and it's happening.
Effectively, you've been turning up the heat.
We've had to, and it's a community that deserves better for sure. I mean, these people have been loyal to a particular party, a particular individual, and when I speak to them, they speak to the fact that for most of the time during the tenure, the cycle, there's very little interaction, there's very little communication, and of course promises were made to, you know, to better that this time around, and from all indications, from most of the communication, these people are saying that this has not happened. So I think Labon deserves better representation, and that is one of the reasons we are in this process, one of the reasons that we coming along in the community to actually highlight some of what needs to happen for us to have a better community.
Maybe another school of thought may be actually to extend the hours, opening hours at the main polyclinic in Gros,
Absolutely.
which would absolutely augment the level of accessibility that the constituents can get, you know.
Yeah, given the population again of Gros, it's just easy maths. The higher the population, the more likelihood that you would have an influx of individuals needing attention. And when you have a polyclinic, and we've been speaking about the extension of hours, we did have some, but even I think more has to be done on weekends and even further for the polyclinic to be more functional for our people. Yeah.
So going back to the diversity of the community and the Labon area, another thing that strikes me as a building practitioner is the number of artisans, you know, actually hail from the community of I mean, the actual dedicated tradesmen who actually get to work on time at Cap Estate and Marisil and Corinth are actually people who come from Labon.
Yeah.
You know, and this is amazing that we have to present a couple more opportunities, you know, to be made available to them to actually augment the skills, you know, maybe, you know, formal learning. So that maybe you can speak to.
Absolutely, and I think Labon had, for a number of years, we've been talking about having a proper center. We're not talking about a half center, a proper center where we can have our young, our students who are at school to be able to first and foremost be able to, you know, complete some of their assignments Labon is not the richest of communities in Gros, and so you want to ensure that these individuals can continue to be in touch with that. You also want a space where people can develop their skills, and I've spoken almost ad nauseum about ensuring that analysis be done about the unemployment issue in Gros, and a place like Labon, where most individuals are they're into farming, but they are very skilled laborers, as you speak to. There are individuals that are into masonry and joinery and all that sort of stuff. We need to be able to take programs to these communities, and Labon is a community, I think, just based on where the area is. We can provide some form of skills training so that our young persons, our people that are middle-aged persons that are into a particular field, they can develop even more as their life goes on. And so we definitely will be looking into that for a community like Labon, that you need to find the center, and based on the topography of the community, it's difficult to actually get somewhere that is flat, that is conducive to having a building. But with a little bit of effort, we definitely need to identify a spot, ensure that we put a proper center, a proper ITC center for the people, for the young persons to have an area they can do their research after school, and our middle-aged and our elderly people could still benefit from some of the programs and the skills development that is required for them to have a better livelihood. So there's no two ways about that for a community like that.
Going back to the actual nucleus of what the Labon people engage themselves in as far as income support, the expansion of the farming / agricultural sector, do you think there's any scope where we could even look at ideas like trying to establish a proper fruit packaging, fruit canning business initiated by government, so that we as we can see, mangoes and the other fruits just naturally exist there. So
absolutely, I think given what the island have been through and what we continue to battle, the COVID-19 pandemic, I think with some of what some of the finances that were donated or sourced from the IMF for income support, and some of the money that has been used, like food security, the advent of COVID-19 really gave us a nudge that we should be doing more by way of agriculture and of course food security, and I mean, we could have, at the very least, with some of the figures I've heard from what has been spent on roads in St. Lucia at this current moment, we could have invested some in a couple of manufacturing plants. And if you're going to talk about canning and if you're going to talk about the fruits that we still have a high import bill. And Labon is one of the areas where you could have a very good youth and agricultural program for sure, and you can encourage some, based on the land, some more production of food supply, and not just food supply, meat, as I spoke about earlier. So the poultry and
animal husbandry.
Exactly, animal husbandry. We could definitely do more of that. That would create employment for the community, for persons in the community, and not just employment for just laborers or the persons that are working the machines.
Entrepreneurs.
But entrepreneurs. We can look at, secretaries. We can look at managers, supervisors. I mean, it creates employment while. What's up? All right, yeah. While we actually do something about our food import bill, and Labon is a perfect example of where this can be done. Another sector we can explore is the blue economy and the Atlantic side that is presented to us from Labon. There is access to the Atlantic Ocean via Labon, and we have individuals involved in fishing in the community. And these individuals have been speaking about the opportunities that could be presented to the East Coast by having a jetty, by having access to a small area to do what they need to do in terms of their catch, in terms of storing it, in terms of doing what they need to do in that area. I think Labon provides that perfect area to create that pilot, because you still have a wide cross section of community like Gros, concentrated population representative in a community like Labon. Labon, as we said, there's skilled workers in Labon. There are teachers and
there's
professionals.
more camaraderie and cooperation.
There's even in terms of sports, we had a competition, and Labon started doing what they needed to do to start building up their sportsmen and women. We had conversations about identifying a green space for the community, and so that they don't have to necessarily go all the way to the field and come back. And
very important, especially
yeah. So
something tangible for our youth. Not just word of mouth and lip service.
Absolutely. So we can do that, and the cooperative is something that is very, very important. Whether we start the pilot here or we establish one in Gros, but this is one of the things that I've been agitating for, given the fact that we are pretty much the logistical commercial hub of St. Lucia. And I mean, we have the population, we have the professionals, we have all we have the infrastructure for us to get that going, and I think it benefits all the community if we focus on that. And of course the fishers that we spoke to, the farmers and all the professionals can benefit from something like that. So I think that is something that we have to continue to have discussions about. It cannot just be about roads. We need those different institutions to actually uplift the livelihood of people in the community, and very, very serious about executing it.
Roads alone will not cut it, so mark my words. So very interesting conversation, Conrad. Very interesting, and most of all is the sincerity of effort that I can sense there. 2 years about it. You're a worker, and you're out here to improve the lives of the people. Not just lip service and talk and wanting to get into elected office. But I sense a genuine concern on your part, and that is quite commendable. Listening to the music of the secret band, you must highlight that the community that we came from, Labon, is actually the cradle of the secret band. So well known in St. Lucia.
I made mention about the second we got here, that some of the members are from the surrounding communities, and Moshi is pretty much one of the cultural capitals of St. Lucia. It's a rich culture.
The Laos exposing
they highlighted into what they're doing. When you have Jeune Creole in Moshi, you get the Jeune Creole with all the the lumber cutting and some of the traditions that is
indigenous activities.
Absolutely. And so we need to continue those sort of things. Good stuff. Yeah, comrade. Yeah, man. So thanks my brother. Thanks my comrade for spending the time with me in these two lovely communities, of course, side by side, and we'll continue to agitate for better for these people.